Hello loves, welcome. We're in the last week of November. We're nearly at the end of the year, which is wild, but we're also nearly at Christmas, which I'm very excited about. I'm putting my tree up later by myself, which some might think is tragic, but I'm going to really enjoy myself. I'm going to have a little glass of red wine, ovs, I'm going to put some Christmas films on, and I'm just going to have a lovely time. Like, it doesn't have to be sad. I actually remember in one of my old flats, I wasn't by myself. Oh my god, I'm going off on a tangent, but I actually want to tell you the story. I used to live with my bestie when I first moved to London, and she loves Christmas. So when we used to trim up the flat, it used to be like a big bonanza Christmas event, and we both used to wear matching clothes, like matching pyjamas, whatever, put the films on, the songs, trim up, like we absolutely loved it. And then when I moved into my next flat with my other best friend and my other, like my friends, there's a group of us, but they weren't as into it, and I pretty much did the tree by myself, like nobody else cared. And I remember feeling really sad and being like, oh my god, I just feel lonely and nobody likes Christmas as much forever. And now it just shows like the power of your mind, because now I'm literally going to be doing it completely alone, and I can't wait. So anyway, long intro, but yeah, I hope you're all doing good and get some Christmas plans going, guys. Let me know what you're up to. If there's anything fun you think I need to see in London, please do let me know. Anyway, as always, let's just go straight into this week's story. I have been with my now fiancé for 4 years, but the way we ended up finding each other, we have always said was meant to be. I grew up in Wales and ended up qualifying as a nurse here. He grew up in Essex and joined the army. Oh my god, I'm sorry, it's giving Gavin and Stacey already. Being drafted out to Germany with his section and living over there for 12 years. Okay, not quite Gavin and Stacey. In that time, he met a German girl and married her. During his time in the army, he became good platonic friends with one of his female officers who also had a medical degree outside of the army. That officer ended up being medically discharged after an injury and moved back to the UK after a few years, ending up working in the same hospital as me in Wales, where we soon became best friends and had lots in common. I know where this is going. Meanwhile, 4 years after getting married, he moved back to the UK with his new wife. But tragically, after only 4 months of being here, she collapsed one day and was rushed to hospital, where she eventually was placed on a life support machine. She was diagnosed with a heart tumour, and whilst the doctors tried to operate, they eventually told him she would never wake up. Oh my god. So he had to make the awful decision to turn off her life support machine. Oh my god. No, I did not know where that was going. Shit. So hang on, I'm going to have to backtrack now, because I started off very excited by the story. So this girl grew up in Wales, and this guy grew up in Essex and joined the army. She's got a medical degree, she's working in a hospital. He ends up being drafted to Germany, he's over there for 12 years, meets and marries a German girl, and makes friends with a female officer. The female officer ends up working in the same hospital as this girl, and at around the same time, her friend, the guy, moves back to the UK, and tragically his wife passes away. He had to make the awful decision to turn off the life support machine. Oh my god. That is crazy. Like, how do people do that? Also, I imagine they're very young, because obviously if they're working in the army and stuff, like being a young widow, I think being a widow anyway is so hard. But being a young widow is just not something you ever imagine going through, is it? Oh my god. Okay, so she says, he managed to work through his grief and took another job abroad for 2 years in a very similar role to the one he had in the army, but eventually returned and temporarily moved in with his mum. I'm just like, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with being married and having your life and then moving back in with your mother? My god, that's hard. Just before he came back to the UK, my best friend, who had been trying her best to find me a boyfriend, classic, mentioned to me she used to work with this guy in the army and he had the exact same hobbies as I did, and did I want her to put me in touch with him because it would be good to have someone to talk to, etc. I was so used to her trying to matchmake, so I said sure, but I didn't think it would go anywhere. However, she set a group chat up for the three of us, introduced us, then quickly left, letting us chat. which by the way, I think is such a good intro. What a good little Cupid way that is, a group chat, because it's very easy to ignore if it doesn't go well, rather than let's the three of us go to drinks and see how it turns out. Group chat is the way forward. I'm going to remember that. He was so nice and friendly and so easy to chat to that when he returned to the UK, I plucked up the courage to see if he wanted to meet up and have a day out together doing a mutual hobby. Love that, she asked him out. I thought if anything came from it, then great. If not, I had good friends with the same interests. Oh my God, I feel like I'm interrupting all the time, but there's so many notes because I think that's such a good attitude to have on a date. I think some people put so much pressure on dates, especially if you're in a position to where like you want to settle down or you want a boyfriend, you want a girlfriend, whatever. But I think that's such a good way to look at a date. Like you go, if it turns into something great, if not, you've potentially just met a friend or you've met somebody that you've got on with and you've just had a nice afternoon, especially if you know you're into what you're going to do. Like if you're both into museums or if you're both into like going for a walk, wherever, then if you plan a date you actually want to do and you enjoy doing it, then it won't feel like a waste of time. And obviously it's different if you're like, let's go out and get drinks and then you wake up hungover, like full of regret and anxiety. That's not so fun. So yeah, hobby date's the way forward. Right, sorry guys, I know I'm probably being very annoying here. So she asked him out wherever. He lived about an hour away, so we met in the middle and had such a great day that I couldn't stop thinking about him. But he also had future plans of what he wanted to do, and they didn't sound like they involved me. And just as I feared, when I spoke to him a week later to see if he wanted to meet up, he had decided to leave and drive around Europe for a few months. I was gutted. However, during the 2 months he was gone, he messaged me every week and excitedly sent me pictures of all the awesome things he saw. He told me months later that he actually came back early because he had decided he wanted to see me again, oh my God, and couldn't wait those extra months. He came to Wales to stay at my house for a week, separate rooms still, as we were friends and neither of us had said how we really felt. But I mean, come on now, little bit obvious, no? But we got really close that week, staying up till 4 a.m. some mornings, drinking wine and just chatting about everything. Did you end up in the same bed one night? That's what we all want to know. Oh my God, how lush though. He went away and then, imagine what he was feeling. Like you have this life plan set that you're going to go and drive around and have like the equivalent of a hot girl summer. I don't know what the boy version is. No, fuck boy summer. Not I'm saying that's what he was doing, but you know what I mean. And then obviously you meet somebody and your whole plans change. Do you know, I have said this story before, but I'm going to repeat it. This happened to me and my ex. So when we got together, he'd always planned he was going to go on a sabbatical and he was going to go travelling for, I can't remember how long it was. I think it was about 2 months or something. And that was fine. I knew about it. He knew about it. So I always had in my head I wasn't going to go with him because I didn't want to be with him whilst he was travelling for 2 months because I've just got to be home waiting for you. No, thank you. And, you know, you just go and enjoy yourself. Like you don't want to be, you know, with me, wherever. So I always said no to being like his girlfriend and stuff. And then he basically bought me a ticket to go out to Bali to meet him there. Asked me to be his girlfriend then. I was like, okay, obviously I'm going to have to say yes now. And obviously I've still seen you like on your travels. But I came back and I still found it really hard. I think it was maybe like my ego. I was just like, why have I got to like sit around waiting for you? Giving like Samantha Jones in Sex and the City. Why have I got to sit around waiting for a man? And I just found it hard. And I was like, look, let's just leave it and talk when you come back. And then the guy jumped out of a plane and put on his palms something like miss you, I think it was, miss you or something like that. It was so bad I can't remember. Sent me a photo of it. I was like, oh my God, like this is after we broke up. Sent me a picture and I was like, wow, that's really sweet. I get home that same day, there's a big bouquet of flowers outside my front door saying, I know you said not to message you, but flowers are okay, aren't they? I was like, this is one of the most romantic things anyone's ever done for me. I was like, wow. So I messaged him, oh my God, can't believe you've got this, blah, blah, blah. Then he sent me a picture of his plane ticket and he was on his way home. I mean, what? That just makes you feel so special and so nice. And I think also, like, I felt guilty because I was like, I did never ever wanted you to cut your trip short. Like, part of the reason I wanted to break up was like, you just enjoy yourself, me just enjoy myself, and then like let's come back together if we still want to. So I actually felt really guilty. But from his point of view, he was like, by the end of like the trip, because we'd been away for so long, I was just having a shit time anyway, and I just wanted to come home for you. So I think it's just like a really nice feeling all round. I mean, me and him broke up, so so, you know, big romantic gestures don't always win, but still we stayed together for a good year or 2 years after that. I can't remember, a year maybe. So yeah, what a lush feeling if you've got a plan and then you meet somebody, and I think it's so nice if you let that person change your plans and you just think, oh, screw it, I've got this really strong feeling for someone and I'm just gonna go for it. Right, I'm so sorry. I know I try not to go off these tangents because I get a lot of hate for them, but I'm just excited about this story. So do I need to recap again? So obviously we know she's in the UK, he's in Germany. They both end up in the UK, back together at the same time, on essentially kind of like a blind date set up by their mutual friend, or I think it's like the invisible thread throughout this whole story. And they meet up, they have a lovely time on the date. She can't stop thinking about him, but he's got a plan to go driving around Europe for 2 months. However, he came back early because he decided that he wanted to be with her. So he ended up staying at her house, and she says, when it came time for him to leave, he stayed an extra day as neither of us wanted him to go. The following week was my birthday, and he came back in the afternoon after I'd seen my family, and he actually never left after that. We finally got together on my birthday. I gave him a house key and he moved to Wales. The first 2 years were extremely difficult, as I struggled greatly with him being a widower. Yes, this is the convo that I need to know about, because that's got to be hard. She says, I never ever really thought about how bloody hard it was to date a widower. I mean, why would you? For other people, I always thought it must be fine because the other person would never be a threat. But I actually became very, very depressed, crying all the time. I became so insecure in myself. I put her on a pedestal and kept telling myself he'd never love me like her. She should be here, not me. If she hadn't passed away, he wouldn't be with me, along with so many more awful things. I didn't feel like I'd ever fill her shoes. Anything loving he ever said to me, pet names he called me, I'd immediately wonder if he'd said those to her, and I really struggled with the thought that he'd walked up the aisle with another woman, that he probably still wished she was here and he still loved her very much. The thought of being with a man whose heart was with another woman killed me. I was almost jealous of her having him first. But he was the most patient, kind person and helped me through all those bad times, my bad thoughts and my complete paranoia. He'd reassure me that all these thoughts and fears were in my head. He'd had time away, he'd done the work, he accepted that that life was over and that I had his whole heart. So good. Slowly over the years, time has helped significantly, and the longer we are together, the easier this has got. I could have finished with him so many times, but something was stopping me, and now I'm so glad. He is my rock, and after 4 years, we are engaged and happier than ever. We are trying for a baby, and even though very occasionally I get triggered by certain things, I can now look at what I have done, and I can usually talk myself down, and if not, I know I can tell him anything and that it'll be all okay. It has absolutely been the most difficult relationship I have ever been in, but after doing the work, and it has been so hard and so many tears have been shed, it is now the most secure and happy relationship I have ever been in. Anyway, sorry if I've rambled. I don't have any friends who have experience of dating a widower, especially in their mid-30s, so I do find it good to write it all down and tell my story. I always think this relationship was meant to be, brought together by a chance meeting of a mutual friend, and a relationship that has made us both better and stronger people. That has given me full goosebumps. I think, well, I mean, there's so much to say about it, but I think the key thing from this story is the whole start of it was like a fairy tale, and somebody else could be sitting at home finding our story on TikTok and thinking, being in the same situation or similar situation, being with a widower or wherever, or being with somebody that had been married before, you know, different situations and feeling insecure and seeing that story and thinking, oh God, well, she's not insecure over it and that's just like a perfect fairy tale, and what's wrong with me for feeling insecure? Or does that mean the relationship isn't right because I feel insecure? And I think it would be very easy, like I say, to compare how you feel to this fairy tale story. But I think the key thing is she's actually gone and told us how hard it's been. She said it's been the hardest relationship she's ever had, but also the most amazing. And it just shows that you've got to put work into a relationship. And like she said, there's so many times she could have walked away, but something was stopping her. And that's obviously her intuition telling her, like, you can work through this and it's right. And I also think a massive key thing is that her partner is willing to listen to her, but also not be angry at her for feeling that way, not judge her for feeling that way. And I think that's a massive important thing in any type of relationship. If you've got insecurities over someone or you don't like the way someone is, you've got to be able to have a really open conversation with somebody. And if they are like, oh, you're so stupid for feeling like this, or come on, we're going over and over the same thing, or why would you feel like that? Like, I've told you. I think if they're aggressive, it can really put a toll on you as a person and the relationship. I think you have to remember that somebody that feels like that, like when you feel insecure, you can't help it. Nobody wants to feel like that. It's not like a choice. And nobody enjoys those conversations with your partner where you're like, I'm going to come across as a really insecure, non-confident person. You like, it makes you feel rubbish. Nobody wants to be like that in front of their partner or just like that in general. So I think you have to appreciate that it's a big deal to do that. And if you're listening to it, you have to try and be a bit more understanding and not be like, oh my God, come on, don't be stupid. And yeah, I think if you can both have those conversations and also listen to those conversations, then that's what's going to make it work. Because if he wasn't, handling her as well as he did, then they would have broken up. So I think that's a massive thing in it. And I love that she was honest about how insecure she was feeling. I think, honestly, a widower, I made a TikTok about this before. I can't remember exactly if I'm repeating myself, but I think a widower, or if you're with somebody that was dumped before, those are like massive triggers, because it makes you feel like, well, if they were still here, you'd be with them because they're the ones that ended the relationship, or if they've obviously passed away, wherever, then you'd still be with them. Like, it's obviously you feel insecure. Like, that's such a massive thing. I would hate it if I go with a guy and I said like, oh, what was your last relationship, Rev? And he was like, oh my God, to be fair, I was really upset. And like, I thought she was the love of my life. And yeah, just, I obviously wasn't the one for her and she broke up with me. I'd be like, excuse me. So am I then. Like, it would make me feel rubbish completely. You'd go in your own head without the understanding that obviously that can happen, but people find love again. People marry and get divorced and then love somebody else again, and it's like, oh my God, this is better than before, or this suits my life now. Like, I always say that sometimes, like, people suit you for different times of your life, don't they? And I think he's worded it the best. Obviously, a widower is, I can't even imagine like going through that. So that's obviously so much harder. But I think he hits the nail on the head by saying he's done the work, which is, he obviously sounds like he's done the work. And I think you have to, if you go through something traumatic, like, get yourself to therapy, get yourself on the self-help tools. But also I think when he hits the nail on the head is him saying, I've accepted that part of my life is over. And, it's good for him. What do people expect him to just be miserable his whole life and never love again? It's the same as like her family and stuff. It's the same when anyone passes away. Anyone. Nobody expects that person, or nobody wants that person that's close to them to stay sad forever. Like, if somebody's lost a child, they're always going to feel it. Like, he's always going to feel, obviously, like he lost somebody. But it doesn't mean you've got to live your life in sadness and you can never laugh again. You know, that's the whole beauty of life. Getting very deep, but it is that things happen to us and we just get over it and we move on and we accept it. And classic one is Rio and Kate Ferdinand, you know, when they had kids, and I think that was really hard. They did that TV show about it, didn't they? Obviously, it's a hard thing to go through, but if you're both willing to do it and if you both feel like it's something special, then you can get through it. But honestly, I think that's one of the best stories I've ever been sent. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. So yeah, guys, please, if you've got a similar situation or if you just enjoy the story or the podcast, please make sure you're following, subscribed, share. Like if you see a reel that you like, please share it to your friends, comment, you know, do whatever you can to help it get out, because I just feel like somebody who listens to this episode, this could be such a massive help for them. I genuinely feel like that. Like if I put this thing in, I just feel like it's such a niche story and topic that somebody out there is going to find it being in the same situation and thinking, oh my God, this has helped, and I really want that for somebody. And the other thing is, I think we can all relate to it because we've all felt insecure about our partner's past. Like, because you can't, what is it? She says it perfectly when you're like, you put another person on the pedestal. I don't know why we do that. I think we do that with loads of people because lots of us sometimes just talk to ourselves not like a little bit negatively. So I think that's it's got lots of good lessons. And also, guys, invisible thread, please. Remember what I said about that episode? I think it was episode 90 because she did mention a year, where sometimes if two people are meant to be together, life is panning out in different ways until the right time comes for them to be together. And what's the chances he makes friends with this woman and then that woman ends up in the same hospital as that girl and introduces them? It's stuff of movies, guys. We're actually reading out real life movie plots here. Like in the future, honestly, I can see Love What Luck Productions and we can make movies out of these stories. Am I going to put that on my mood board, my manifestation board today? Yes. Yes, I am. Because imagine we could make little films after these stuff. It's crazy. Anyway, changing the topic swiftly. If you saw on Instagram, then you'll already know. However, I have to tell you, I went to see 50 Cent in the week. And guys, I fully embodied Curtis Jackson. I felt like I was him. I spit every bar as if I had grown up as Curtis Jackson. As Curtis Jackson. I felt like I had been shot in the face. I was rapping with heart and I had the best night of my life. 50 Cent, oh my good God. When I was younger, 50 Cent was my life. Me and the girls, we used to go and sit up the grandstand, like a big group of us, and we all used to sit as if we were like G's, listening to 50 Cent and G-Unit, and just never underestimate the power of a good bit of nostalgia and a good night out with your friends, because honestly, we're still on such a high. It was like 5 days later and we're still talking about it. I had to go into the office the next day after 4 hours sleep. I was okay. Like, I was still on the high. I even went out that night as well and got really drunk, which was bad. But yeah, no, like when... the reason I want to talk about it is, you know, when you're younger, and I think sometimes, lots of things you have big dreams, but sometimes I think you just think things are unattainable. And I know it sounds stupid, but 50 Cent was just one of those people I never thought I'd see, like, in life. No, when I'm sat in Ferndale 15, like, listening, and then we were there, and I was listening to him singing, and oh my God, I just loved it, because you know that scene I put on my Instagram of Get Rich or Die Trying? Oh my God. That scene where he's with his girlfriend, I mean, technically not together, like basically with his love, and he's singing to her, if I was your best friend, I want you around all the time. Best friend, like he's speaking the lyrics to her. Oh my God, that honestly was probably my first experience of porn. Because the shit that clip used to do to me when he was grinding up against her, I loved it. And I had such a good night that I actually had to do a shout out on the pod. And yeah, just being with your friends and having a drink, wherever, doing whatever you want with your friends, and who you can be completely yourself with and just have such a nice, fun, drama-free night is just really good for the soul, and it made me feel really happy. So yeah, I urge you to try and do that if you can. But I've got to say, the next day, right, so I'm on a hangover, then somebody says, do you want to come for a drink? Obviously, as I've said on a couple of episodes, I am incapable of saying no to a drink. It's actually a problem. So I go out. I'm always the last one out. Wherever I go, I'm always the last one out. I've never had any intention of it. But there I am. I'm the last one there, obviously. And we're having shots and all the rest of it. So I came home and I met my friend on lunch, and I was hungover, so I was like, I have to go to Greggs. There's nothing else I can eat today other than that. So she asked me to get a full pack of sausage rolls. They didn't have it, so I bought 4 individual sausage rolls, which she thought was the most stupid thing ever. And she was like, I'm not taking them, you take them. So I walked around all day with 2 sausage rolls, Greggs sausage rolls, in the bag in my pocket, right? All day and night, right? Anyway, when I came home drunk, I was like, oh, thank the Lord, I've brought these sausage rolls home. So, drunk, I just take the bag out and I put the bag in the microwave. Guys, it fully set on fire. If you watch on YouTube, I'm going to put a picture on the screen. The whole paper bag disintegrated. It was up in flames. And I think it's because I put a sauce sachet in with it, and I think maybe the metal in there caused it to catch on fire. The whole thing was ash. There was ash everywhere. I had to douse it with a tea towel. When you wake up the next day, like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like, that's how I felt. Oh my god. But anyway, all worth it. It was a fun night. Right, anyway, I want to end on this thread that I found on Reddit. It's a little bit random because I was actually looking for a different thread, but I saw this and I just thought it was quite humorous. So I'm like, do you know what? I'm just gonna end on this. I was looking for another thread, which I'm not going to tell you because I'm going to find it for next week's episode. But please keep an eye out on my Instagram. I'm at Sadie Maltby and at Love What Luck, because I'm going to start asking questions there every week for you guys to answer and bring your stories. I've done it a few times, but I always get a little bit nervous in case, I don't know, like in case they're a bit rude or something and people get put off, which is so stupid because that's obviously what you guys want to hear on the podcast. So anyway, you know, I've said before, I've been in like a little bubble and stuff with social media. Well, screw it, because I just think it's what we all want to hear on years. Oh, look at that Welsh accent, year on year. It's all what we want to hear on here. So yeah, keep an eye out on my Instagram, so I'm going to commit to doing that every week is pretty much why I'm telling you on here, so I actually stick to it. So we can share all our experiences. But anyway, I found this thread on Reddit. Was something that hurt you a lot more than you expected? And first one. My husband used to do the old tea towel whip on my arse whenever the opportunity rose. Years of it, no harm, no foul. One day he managed to whip me in what some may call an impressively expert move. Cotton tea towel, perfectly held and exceptionally painfully executed. Had a wee bruise and it stung for hours. Could even feel it when sitting for the next 2 days. You've never seen a man more apologetic, and he's never playfully whipped since. Refuses point blank, and it's only ever gentle bum slaps these days. Shame really, missed the game of outmanoeuvring the tea towel after maybe 3 years. Those do kill. I literally was doing it the other day. They're painful. Somebody else said, got my tongue pierced, didn't feel a thing. Thought I'd get my nipple pierced. Felt like I had been shot in the chest, then didn't feel anything on the left side of my body for half an hour. I got my nipple pierced in a cold northern winter. The actual piercing was fine. Walking home in the freezing cold with nipples looks like bullets was not. That made me laugh because I've got my nipple pierced, and I must have said the story that I took my heavily pregnant sister to get it done with me. I'm laying there. It was one of those spur of the moment decisions. I literally woke up. I'd been thinking about it for a while, and it was like, I have to do it now. I can't wait another second. It has to be now. I went to one shop in the Rhondda, and thank God the guy wasn't there because he was on tag. It's not like when you get let out of prison and you've got that security tag thing on your ankle. he had one of those and he was in the shop that moment, thank God. I mean, I'm not saying that if you've been arrested, you can't do a good piercing job, but it just didn't feel right. Anyway, so I ended up going to Cardiff and I was just like, Dan, to my sister, will you please come with me? She was there, she was like, she must have been like 6 or 7 months pregnant, like she was massive. She was like, oh, I can't watch. And then I sat there like freaking out as well. And I was just thinking, what must my mother and father think? They've got one daughter, happily married, pregnant with their 2nd child. And then they've got me lying there ready to get my nipple pierced on like a Thursday afternoon. I will say it does kill, but I don't think it hurt as much as I was expecting, but because you read stuff like that, so you just expect the worst. But the whole thing is it's pretty tough going. Anyway, somebody else said, baby number 3. I thought because I'd done it twice already, I'd be alright and my body wouldn't know what to do and all that other rubbish people spoke about. However, I passed out twice and came to not understanding why this baby wasn't out yet. It was so bad that I was back in for sterilisation within a couple of months. Wow. A seagull once shat on my head. It must have dropped from one hell of a height as I felt like I'd been hit by a slingshot. On top of that, it also splattered into my dinner that I had just started eating. No, I cannot. The whole thing put a real downer on my evening. Before I was sat on lunch and I had my legs open, like, not on a roadway, but I was just sat because I was sat on the steps and a bird shit and missed me and went straight in between my legs. I was going to say it didn't touch me. When I got back to the office, I did realise a little bit it hit my shoulder. But how mad is that? Okay, let's see what other ones are on here. Tin foil on fillings. Oh, there's nothing worse than that pain. You cannot explain it. Somebody said, took too big a bite out of a shawarma wrap, or being there, and felt like half my teeth were falling out. Oh, that is the weirdest, most disgusting sensation. It actually goes through me, even the thought of it. I think it only happens if you've got metal fillings. I used to have, when I was younger, I used to have like silver fillings, and now I have, and so I don't know if it would still hurt now, but I would never try it. Oh, it actually makes me like recoil. Somebody said, oh, my first serious relationship. He broke up with me like a month before the end of my study abroad period with a letter. So dramatic. And it felt like someone punched a huge hole in my chest and stomach is. No joke, I felt physical pain and didn't stop crying for days. Still had little crying fits for months after, and it took years to get over the pain, and I still don't feel ambivalent about it. About 6 years later either. I had to remove all trace of him, so I've had no contact since. We only went out for about 2.5 years, but I think it was because I was only 18 and it was my first time of being in love. Oh, that's sad. The injections in my dick before I was circumcised definitely brought a tear to my eye. I'm moving swiftly on. Oh, my toddler telling me I had a big belly, pure emotional damage. Somebody else said underneath, haha, I'm sorry this made me laugh so much. I was trying on clothes when my daughter was a toddler. I asked her, what do you think? And she just said, big, while slowly spreading her arms wide to double down on the bigness. Toddlers don't give one single shit about you. They literally couldn't care less about you. You keep them alive. You literally keep them alive, and you make sure they sleep and eat, and you make sure they're happy all the time, and they couldn't care less. They will tell you exactly how it is. They're so savage. Somebody said, dropping your phone on your face, especially if the edge gets you. Dropping your phone on your face is just humiliating. It just makes you feel so stupid, and it hurts. And for me, I'm just like, why has this happened to me? Like, I'm such an idiot. I find it very humiliating. Being stitched up after giving birth. No, skipping past that one. I had an ingrown toenail sorted. No, skipping past that one. I'm sorry, I can't do birth stitching. I can't do feet. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. Please remember to like, subscribe, follow, leave me a review. I know last week I asked for reviews, and I think I had an extra 3. So, I keep an eye on these, and it does make me feel really happy. So I appreciate it so much. Please remember to send me your stories. If you sent me one and I haven't got back to you, it's because I've opened them as I go to record, because I really want to make sure I reply to you. And sometimes if I open them beforehand, life gets ahead of me and I don't respond. So yeah, if you sent me a story, I will definitely get around to it. But if you've got one, then please send it in. You can email me, sadie@lovewhatluck.com, or all the links are below to my social media. We've got anonymous links if you want to send a story. Do you know, I did get somebody the other week asking me for blowjob tips, and I didn't answer it because I was like, what if this is a guy who just wants me to like act out giving a blowjob? And you know, I'm just not going to do that content for free, I'm afraid. So yeah, I am a little bit particular with what I answer there, but if you've got someone that you don't want me to, you know your name or whatever, then yeah, you can send it there. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you next week.